Yeah, no, it's on. Yeah, talk to the people.
Is it?
Yes. Can someone please comment in the chat to let Rosie know that we're actually live? Yeah. Well, sorry.
Hello.
If it seems a little bit disjointed, it's because we had a connection error there that we panicked at exactly 12:30, like trying to reconnect, but it reconnected, so it all went well. No one's commented yet.
No, I know.
Do you think we're live?
Yay! Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Hello,
Anthony.
Anthony.
Chris Collins says hi. Look, he's got a little like. Doesn't that looks like John, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The great bald yeti.
The eyebrows are very dark though.
We need to get Chris and John in a room together if that's what they actually look like. Similar? Well, based on this little.
Maybe.
What would you call that there? Is that a meme?
No, I think it's like I don't know. It's a bot. Yeah. I don't know.
A bot. Richard Johnson, he's here. Sorry, Chris, for Rosie calling you a bot. Hello, Charles Jackson. Sup? Yeah, well, welcome to today's Tuesday tune-in as your avatar.
Avatar, yeah, of course it is. I should know that because I'm young and hip and
cool. Yeah, at least one of those is true. Yeah, hey Sam, how's it going? Yeah, so welcome to today's Tuesday tune-in, everybody. We'll see where everyone's sort of joining now. Yeah, so as you can see that we've upgraded Andy once again to Rose. Rose is going to talk to us.
It's Rosie.
Oh yeah, sorry. Rosie's going to talk to us, and we're going to talk a little bit about trip prep. Something Rosie knows a little bit about because she's about to go and do Tupgal. When are you doing it? Next month.
Next month, start of the month.
What day was it? 4th of May.
4th of May because it's your birthday.
Yes, my birthday. Yeah, cool. Yeah. So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about sort of the way Rosie's been prepping because you've been going at it pretty hard. The way I prepped in the past and sort of see what's worked out for us.
I don't leave things for chance, whereas
no,
you do. So I've been stressing, but yeah, I mean I'm in a good place.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't leave things for chance the first trek I ever went on. I trained like I was an astronaut going into space for that one.
Literally, like how I've been. But now you're more relaxed, whereas this is my second trip at altitude. Obviously, did Machu Picchu last year. So yeah, just been kind of altering my training a little. Well, quite a lot actually. I've altered my training in terms of how I was training for Machu Picchu. So yeah, it's all systems go, isn't it?
Anthony Christian has said that I'm way nicer on the eyes.
What?
Yeah.
Did they say that?
Yeah, cheers, mate. Yeah.
No, about me.
I don't think it's about you.
No. What you guys don't know is that I turned up work this morning late.
It was tragic.
With no makeup on, and then I just looked at Dave and went, "We're doing the Tuesday tune-in today."
Yeah, we nearly sent her home.
Yeah.
It was.
So I had to use someone else's makeup.
Yeah.
And we did what we could do.
Yeah, it's been it was kind of similar. How I can say when Rosie walked in this morning, it's sort of what I think. You know, when you first move the sarcophagus, when you find a new pyramid, and then what you see inside, like that was Rosie this morning.
And I've not been well though, to be fair.
Like literally, we opened up, we like ah, then we closed the lid again, and this is like the closed lid version, you know, like gold painted and everything like that. John's here. John, if you scroll down, you'll see that someone's used an avatar, Chris Collins, that's exactly like you. We've decided we're going to get you both in a room together. Hey, anyway, Laura, how's it going?
We should probably focus and stop talking about my face.
Yeah. So, Tupgal.
Yeah, Tupgal.
So, you did Machu Picchu, when was it, last September?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, should we talk about training?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what the tune is about.
My training for Machu Picchu was quite cardio based. I did running. I was on the Stairmaster, and then rowing machine quite a lot, and then probably doing weights twice a week.
Yeah.
But yeah, by the end, I was doing a lot of cardio. I'm not kind of a runner. I didn't really enjoy it that much. How my training's differed now, I'm about 1.5 stone lighter, and I'm doing
at least, yeah.
a lot of all weight training basically, getting my steps in every day, and on kind of upper training days, I'm getting on the Stairmaster and doing 20 minutes on the Stairmaster with a weighted bag.
Yeah, I think you've been smashing it like really, really well. But also, I would say you have been doing quite a bit of cardio, because I'm assuming you do like the boxing.
Oh shit! Sorry.
What is it lately? Everyone's swearing on.
This is gonna be a long hour. Yeah, I do boxing once a week as well.
Yeah.
Forgot to mention that on Tuesdays.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most.
That definitely helped my cardio.
Yeah.
And it's been enjoyable as well. Like I've never ever enjoyed running. I'm not a runner. When I have run, I have in the past, like 5K's been like my longest run. But every minute of that is like looking at the clock. When am I done? I'm bored. Everything hurts.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I found that like my cardio definitely has improved, and I
100%.
suppose that boxing has helped that.
Yeah, boxers have some of the best cardio going. And what I think is important is, one of the things that I've always struggled with is to train for something like Everest Base Camp and to maintain that fitness, all year round.
Yeah.
You have to do something that's kind of enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like you have to, there's no point just going out and running if you're not a runner. There's no point riding a bike
100%.
if you hate riding a bike. You've got to fine tune your training at least into something that's going to be sustainable.
Yeah.
Because something's better than nothing. So even if all you ever do is like you just hike up hills, you'll gain it's a different type of cardio. It's, like for instance, I know a lot of like really, really strong hill walkers that, probably couldn't run a fast 5K or run a half marathon.
Yeah.
But what they can do is they're conditioned to hike and trek, and they can trek and hike all day. What do you think made you change the training, or was it just because the way you trained previously for Machu Picchu? Was it the experience on Machu Picchu? Did you think I'd want to be stronger, lighter? Or was it just a continuation, do you think, of that?
Well, actually, I was looking back at pictures last week from Machu Picchu, and I didn't realise how big I was. Like, I was carrying a lot of extra weight, and I think end of last year really started taking fitness and my nutrition really, really seriously. And started, like, in the past, I've always enjoyed going to the gym, but when I look back now, my training wasn't focused.
Yeah.
All my kind of goal was, I want to lose weight, and I think a lot of people are guilty of that, of just going into the gym, smashing cardio. And some people, that's great, and so that's how, like, you want to lose weight, great. But I think, like you said, you've got to pick a way that you enjoy, and like nutrition and changing what I eat, how much protein I'm eating, and like eating enough calories and stuff has been a massive part of that.
Yeah.
I have a very bossy little sister who is like does bodybuilding, and she's actually been training me now. So it's all been kind of weights. And just completely changed it. But I can't believe how much I love it and how quickly I've seen my body change and like build muscle, and it's been really crazy how much it's like my body's changed and how much stronger I am.
Yeah, it is like it is. I said it the other day when you walked in. Like every now and again, you'll like come in and I'll be like, yeah, she looks massively different.
Yeah.
To be fair though,
she looks massive.
She looks massively different. No. I was like seriously impressed, because one of the things that I always struggle with, because when people give me advice and they say, I want to lose weight, and then someone might say, well, it's not all about losing weight. It's about this, that, and the other. And sometimes for me, that's almost a little bit too much information early on. What I think you did, which is amazing, which is you just started.
Yeah.
And you started doing something, and you've got to this point through a process of like evolution.
Yeah.
You didn't try and do everything you're doing now in the first week when you started training.
No.
And that's what I think is really key, is that like you can have a goal to kind of get there, get stronger, lose weight, gain muscle, be fitter, better cardio. It's a big old pie to kind of like deal with right off the bat.
It's a lot.
So I think the first and most important thing that I think is, and I've always believed this, and it's weird, but I've done it myself, but you don't really feel it. But watching your journey over the last sort of 6 months, a year has been, you know what, you just started going to the gym on a regular basis. And even you admitted, like when you first started, I remember, like you don't really know what you're doing.
And it's horrible as well. Like you lack confidence, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I think people are watching me. Like, it can be really horrible, like in a gym, like it's all new faces, but you do find that, like, and not all people are gym goers, so that's absolutely fine. And it's where, like we said, like, whatever training works for you. But it's like going in, being consistent with it, whatever you're doing, and it is going to help. You know, like I said, like training for Machu Picchu, yeah, I do things differently now, but God, I was a hell of a lot fitter than I was before I started training. Like, that's for sure. So, and it's doing something is better than doing nothing.
Yeah, and it's the consistency and just the faith almost that when you start training, in 6 months' time, you'll be in a very different position as long as you just keep going.
Which I was for Machu Picchu anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also think as well, one of the biggest benefits and one of the reasons why I think a lot of people sign up for this trip, because over the years I've spoken to tons and tons of people, and they always have the same, I would say the top 3 questions I get is, you know, how fit do you have to be? Am I fit enough? And what happens if I slow the group down? All 3 of those things are 2-part problems. Like, one of them is obviously the physicality of it. If you're asking those questions, you're probably a little bit concerned that you're not a fast walker, you haven't trained as much, you find it difficult to get the time in, but also mentally, like, there's a little bit of anxiety there around that thing. And I think that one of the things that, like, training, whatever method you choose is it, like, first of all, like, the best way to alleviate that and to gain confidence in yourself is to just start doing something physical, I think.
It's always really daunting, and I think, like, especially if you're nervous about how fit you are and you kind of, you know, in the back of your mind, I am not fit enough right now to do this trip, or you don't have the confidence to feel that you're going to be comfortable when you're out there. I think, like, it can seem really overwhelming and daunting just to start, but no time like the present, like, you've just got to do it, and it, you know, and slowly get into that headspace of being more confident and you know, having that belief in yourself that you have trained hard enough and that you know you are gonna, you know, be able to do the trip.
100%. And, you know, I think it, like, the mindset of just starting. So if you were to take the gym, for example, or walking or hiking, if your only goal was, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to walk for half hour 3 times a week. That's something more than you were doing before. And I guarantee within a couple of weeks, you'll probably do it like an hour 3 times a week. You know, 3 hours. If you just go for an hour walk 3 times a week, I guarantee it'll make a difference. And very, very quickly you can add in or change things, and it does evolve, which is, I think, the point that I was trying to make was, it is important, I think, to let that training evolve, guided by kind of what you enjoy.
Your body.
You know, rather than just trying to force, you know, like a square peg in a round hole by thinking, I want to be a runner, so I'm going to go out and run.
That's such a good point.
Which I tried previously, and I managed to get it, but I'm not built like a runner. So right, but I'm not. But I decided I wanted to run like a half marathon in preparation for my first trip to base camp, and I did it, and it did really help. And I'm a big advocate for running. I think it's a great way. But in retrospect, I probably picked up a couple of injuries on the way, and I didn't enjoy it. And also, it wasn't sustained. As soon as I went to base camp and did the half marathon, I stopped. Because deep down, I was always pushing against the idea that I didn't want to run. You know, and you're always forcing yourself to do something in an ideal world you wouldn't be doing. So what I started doing then was I started going back to what I loved, which was the bike more. So I do ride my bike a lot. I want to go back to the gym, and I think the way you've done it as well applies to like anybody in any situation. Like, for instance, you're 23 with no injuries. I'm 40 and everything's wrong. But yet when we go together, like, we have a good training session.
We have a good training session.
And I honestly think that's another key point as well. And John, I'll read out his comment in a minute. He's always kind of been my kind of like the person I get to force me to do things. But having like someone to go with takes a huge amount of the mental pressure away.
100%, yeah. It's so nice to train with someone. I used to go with Fee quite a bit when I first started, and then that kind of tailored off. But now I just go on my own, and I kind of just get my head down and just do it. But it is always really nice to have someone, and you always do, like, it's quite easy not to push yourself when you're just on your own. So it's nice just to have someone, just company, just to kind of hints and tips and just chat things through.
Exactly, but also there's a lot of things that kind of I might want to train that are beneficial for me, but I can also learn things from you, and then vice versa. And then I honestly think having a training buddy is one of the key important. If I was to write, like, I don't know, a 5 or just a stepped program to kind of being successful, getting a training buddy would be great. That could be someone you meet in the gym, and you don't expect to walk in on day one, look around the room and go, right, that's going to be my new friend. But over time, like, you've met people in the gym who you're kind of friends with.
Yeah, no, and this is actually such a good point. So when I moved down to Cardiff for this job, I come from, like, middle of nowhere. Like, Dave always takes the neck out of me. And I moved down to Cardiff, and I only knew, like, kind of a handful of people down here. And the gym has been amazing. I've met just from going at the same time most days, you meet the same people, and you're always like, hey, and you start off a conversation over time, like, start off with a nod, and then but I've met a really, really good friend now, like, through the gym, and we go to the boxing class together, and it's really nice because, like I said, you just meet new people, and
100%.
You can adapt your training and work together, and that's just nice. Similar common interests. And the same for just going walking outside. Like, there's loads of great Facebook groups and stuff like that, so you don't always need to be on your own.
No.
So
I find it massively helped. Even when I was running, I remember it wasn't long before I met, like, some other people who are running the same route as me all the time. And I was just getting changed one day and chatting to them, and then one of them was like, oh, you should run with us. And then I just forced myself to do it, because weirdly, naturally, I feel like I'm quite an introvert when it comes to, like, meeting new people. Like, other people say no, but I think that's what I feel inside.
And
they force myself.
You've got to fake it sometimes, haven't you? And
but it was great.
Smile through it.
And 2 of the occasions where I actually got quite fit at running and cycling were because someone else kind of pushed me to do it.
It's holding yourself and, like, others accountable. Like I said, we were messaging over the weekend. I'm like, are you going to come to the gym with me this week? Let's go. Wednesday. Let's do a session.
And then you let me down, didn't you? Because I messaged you about going this morning, and you said no.
Well, I have boxing tonight, so I can't.
Sometimes it's hard to get that buddy. But again, that's when we go back to the other one. A lesson is consistency and persistency. So consistently doing it, persistently doing it, even though you might not be feeling the gains. And having a friend. But I'll give John a shout out, because 2 of the times, just an example of how I've managed to get fit was years and years and years ago. John started going out for runs with a mate who he was working with. And I was ignoring the fact that he was doing it because I didn't want to do it. And then one day I was in my flat, and he goes, oh, I'm going to go meet my mate for a run. And he comes back in and he's like, oh yeah, I ran 7 miles. And I was like, not having that.
No.
I was like, absolutely not. So I said to John, right, from now on, you've got to run with your friend and you've got to run with me. And he was like, yeah, okay, we'll go out for a run. And I think he remembers, like, the first day we set off, I set off, and it was like that. It was like an episode of Peep Show, if some of you may have seen it, where he's running. He's like, oh my God, I'm amazing. Look how well my legs are. They're powering me. Oh my God, I'm going to die. And it was horrible. And I think I managed 1.5 miles, and I would say 2/3 of it were walking. But we kept it up, and, like, within, I don't know, 2-3 months, I could do 5K very slowly, almost like hard to perceive me as moving. But I did it. And then me and him were regularly, like, equal, then running 5-8 miles or whatever. And then another
Andrew Scott. Oh, you've just scrolled.
Did I?
Andrew Scott just said, you feel it's having no effect, but be patient, and in time you'll notice the difference. Yes, like 100%. Because I've obviously been on this fitness journey, like, for quite some time now, and it's only been very recently that people have started to say, bloody hell, like, you've lost quite a lot of weight now. So, like, you just got to keep going, like, I've got this, like, it's coming. And, like, keeping record of, what you're lifting, or how, like, your pace when you're kind of out, and just how things are going. And then just, over time, like, looking back at pictures and just being so proud of yourself and just going, God, like, I've made a big difference, like, this is paying off.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I honestly, it's such a good point that you raised, because you've been training pretty hardcore now since before September. Yeah. I would say at least May last year.
Well, I started the gym last February, and then I'd say since November, December, started taking weights quite seriously, and then it's just dropped off.
I would say huge difference. Massively. I think particularly since about the end of last year to now, is where it's like almost been every week, like you're slightly different, slightly stronger. John remembers that run. It was at Cardiff Barrage. And then the second time, which is what something that we did, was again, so got fit at running, did Everest Base Camp. It was all fun and games. And then I see on like Strava one day that he cycled from Brecon to Bath. Right. And I was like, I'm not having that. So same thing again. So I called John and I'm like, John, we're going to do Brecon to Bath. When? This weekend? He's like, wow, you sure? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, he'd been cycling for months and months. I hadn't been on a bike in months and months. So I sat on a bike. We set off from Brecon. I made it to Bristol. Like, and like we literally.
I can't imagine that was a flat.
No. John will tell you there's like one hill, right?
Did you literally go over Brecon Beacons?
Well, no. Luckily for us, like
you went through the
where John's house used to be, it's really weird. So if we set off on a ride, right?
Yeah.
You'd always somehow have to go uphill straight away.
Yeah.
But yet when you're coming back, it's also uphill. So I don't know what way we went, but anyway, so no, it's all hills. Pretty much to Bristol. And literally, I remember John going across the Severn Bridge, filming me cycling across it. And then I had a puncher. So I wheeled my bike towards John, like ghosted it, and I was like, John, you're either going to fix it or not. I don't care anymore. And then
get me home.
And then I saw the sign for Bristol Temple Meads. And then the next picture of us is on the station, man down. But yeah, I mean, that was like what, 58 miles? But what it did do, and what I kind of get into, is like having a goal, having someone to train with, because then I was like, I have to run that 7 miles with John.
Yeah.
So I trained with him until I did. And then the second time it was, I have to cycle Brecon to Bath.
Yeah.
Brecon to Bath Mark 1, granted. Brecon to Bath Mark 1, #Bristol. Then the next time we did it, we actually did it. And it's like 80 something miles.
See, and there you go. Like that just shows, doesn't it? Yeah.
And it is amazing. But
Right. Shall we talk about other stuff now, not just training? Because we did promise we'd talk about other stuff.
Yeah. What did we promise we talk about?
Insurance. Talk about insurance. What do the people want? What
comments?
Because we've just gone off on a tangent here. Like.
No. It's trek ready. It's preparing for your trek with confidence. But training is a big part of that.
It's a huge part.
But so there is other sort of other sections that equally need to be sort of checked on. One of those, as you mentioned it, we'll talk about insurance. Because there's a couple of little, like, insurance is relatively easy to get, honestly. There's a lot of providers out there that will provide specialist policies for trekking at high altitude. But there is a couple of things that you want to make sure that you've checked those boxes. I've got quite a lot of insurance policies over the years, and actually my circumstances changed slightly.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is you have to let them know about any pre-existing conditions and things like that. The important issue with that is that some insurance policies, if you don't tell them about a pre-existing condition, then they give you the policy, and then you have to make a claim.
Yeah.
Even if it's not related to that condition, it can still invalidate the policy.
Yeah.
So just tell them everything. Pay a little bit more if you have to.
It's better to be safe than sorry.
100%.
Yeah.
And then also one thing to always confirm is, so a lot of the time, like Kilimanjaro and for peaks in Nepal, there's specific policies. Otherwise, but there's not a specific policy for say Machu Picchu or Tupkal. So one of the most important things is you get covered to beyond the highest altitude you're going to go to. So for instance, Tupkal, 4160 or something.
So I got my insurance actually last night for Tupkal with True Traveller. And I literally just, for me, it's pretty easy because I like you said before, don't have any kind of illnesses injuries, nothing. So it was pretty easy. I got my insurance last year for Machu Picchu with True Traveller as well. So it's just like the website I found as well for True Traveller is really easy.
Yeah.
So I literally didn't even look at any of the others. I was like, nah, just gonna pay it, whatever. So literally just went on, found the kind of package that covered me up to the height. So like you said, 4'1" is too cal, but this was up to like 4'6".
Yeah.
And obviously covered like Morocco, like the country. And then yeah, I was good to go, and it was like £47.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Mine's about 90. I'm in a different age bracket. Andrew Scott has asked, can we recommend an insurance company for people in their 70s? I think most of those companies will insure people regardless of the age. You just pay a premium for it. But I've heard Campbell Irvine offer reasonable prices.
Campbell Irvine, yeah.
For the older person.
And then Big Cat Insurance is the other one that we recommend, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about age with that.
Yeah, I've used only True Traveller just because I like the ease of getting the policy.
Yeah,
like
so easy.
You have to just select your basic policy, and then they have packs that you can add on.
Yeah.
Which are related to what you're doing, like the adventure pack, the extreme pack, all that type of thing. I don't know about Campbell Irvine and Big Cat, how they do it, but I have had some feedback from customers that if you are sort of say 50 and above, Campbell Irvine offer you a really good value. But it's worth checking the other things as well, because the policy may be like good, but you want to just compare it. So always do a comparison, like what's the level of cover like, what's the policy excess like, does it cover like medical costs and repatriation and all of that sort of stuff. Because although it may be cheap, it might not be a full package. And then once you've added on all those little bits that you need, it can be quite expensive. I do think we have a guide about insurances and stuff like that.
On the knowledge centre.
Yeah, so maybe if Joe can find that and put it in. What other things would you say are important? Like, because you're going through it right now, you're about to go. You're literally less than a month. You're gonna go.
Yeah, and the thing is, I'm doing it, and then Dad, like, I'm going with my dad, and then Dad's going, What do I need? Help! Talk me through everything. So I'm trying to like coach him along as well. So kit, there's pieces of kit I'm borrowing from you. There's Diamox that I'm probably going to be taking. Well, I'll take with me, but I'll probably just take it anyway.
So medications.
So that kind of just covers, thinking about that. Having it like what I did for Peru as well. We had an extra couple of days at the end and like throughout, because our itinerary was slightly different. And I just got on like TripAdvisor and stuff. Is it TripAdvisor?
Don't know.
Yeah. No, Trustpilot. What is it? TripAdvisor or Trustpilot? And I was like just looking at things to do in the local area. So I've done that again and like seen like some cool things. And not even that you have to necessarily book anything, because speaking to like the hotel and stuff can be really helpful to find stuff to do.
Yeah.
But just to make sure you're making the most of the time out there. That's something I'm like always really, really keen to do. Like I never want to be like, if it's an adventure trip.
Yeah, you've got to pack.
If I'm going to Tenerife to sit by a pool for a week, I don't want to do anything. Yeah. But I want to make the most of the time out there, so I will be doing lots of activities.
I'm exactly the same. No rest days on a trip. No. Not really. If you're not trekking, you've got to be going somewhere or doing something.
Yeah. Like the camel rides. There's like quad bike tours, and I just like I'm like want to do it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So fun.
Yeah. Morocco's amazing as well. There's so much to do. You can go to the desert.
Yeah, literally.
There's absolutely tons of stuff we can do.
Dad went out there last year, so I'm hoping he'll be like, I need to do that sort of stuff.
Yeah, amazing. So Sam Weller, also inoculations, what's needed and what's advised. So the best way to be prepared for that is that if you go on to Nomad Health Clinic's website, and put in the inoculations for, you can do a search by which country. So for instance, I would put in Nepal and it'll come up with a really helpful table, mandatory and then advised. It's basically in pretty much all of our destinations, the basic stuff. So what is the basic stuff?
I don't know, like
polio, diphtheria.
Oh, what's that one you can get through soil?
I don't know. Cholera, maybe that's water.
Can't remember. But anyway, they're really helpful. That nomad, like the table. And that.
I think partly the reason why I can't name them off the top of my head is because I always refer to that table.
Yeah.
Like
really
I literally just go there. But also, so you can get inoculations through your GP, but there's no guarantee that they always have the ones that you need in stock, because generally they just cover you for what they inoculate people for in the UK. I always pay and go to Nomad to get mine done, purely because there's a few benefits. One of those benefits is that you're talking to someone that understands exactly why you need this stuff. So anti-malarials and Diamox are two of the big ones. So when you go to Africa, you're going to need anti-malarials. But the big one's Diamox. So if you go to your GP and you ask for Diamox, a lot of the time they won't actually understand that it's used for high altitude trekking and climbing, because it wasn't originally designed for that purpose. So they can be quite reluctant to kind of prescribe it to you. When you go to Nomad travel clinics, they know exactly what Diamox is actually used for in terms of climbing and trekking, and they have no hesitation in prescribing it to you. One of the things as well to recommend with Diamox, I don't know if you've ever done, actually I don't know if you took it in Machu Picchu or not, but if you are planning on taking it or think you may take it, is always like get the prescription well in advance of when you go and take a pill at home.
Oh, right.
So you can just double check that it doesn't have any like weird adverse reactions. There's always side effects with Diamox. I took it when I was on Kilimanjaro, and it's mainly like pins and needles in your hands and feet and like in your face by here, which is annoying, but nowhere near as annoying as high altitude sickness.
No.
No.
Yeah.
So I reckon we should smash through and get some questions done, because there's a lot of stuff that people have said, which is great. So I'm going to script for the comments first. So let's have a look.
Think after Rosie's TikTok, because I'm ready.
I think that's a Rosie TikTok fan.
Yes, we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
I love doing the TikToks.
Does that mean we've got at least one follower now?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I love doing the TikToks, but everyone gets really stressed, and then I'm like coming up to them with like some lights and like
everyone gets really stressed.
A tripod, and I'm like, hey, so do you have 5 minutes to come do a TikTok with me?
Yeah.
Not now.
It's never 5 minutes, by the way. Never.
And it's usually you're really good as well with like
doing the sound, so good,
doing like the lip sync, but I take a couple of takes usually.
Yeah. There's a lot of laughing.
But they're funny.
They're so funny. Sometimes my sides after a session. So Sam Well has asked, best way to train if you live at low altitudes. How can you prepare for this? So a couple of things, Sam. So when it comes to our trips, they are kind of designed so you don't need to be pre-acclimatized. There are a few trips that can be beneficial for, but we'll stick with the ones that you don't for now. There's no real way to pre-acclimatize unless you're going to spend time in like a tent, one of those altitude simulation tents and things like that. The best thing you can do to prepare your body is get a few things in place. So one of them is, I always say it on every live now, I feel like, but knowledge dispels fear. So learning a lot about acclimatization and where you're going and what you're going to be doing means that, you can mentally prepare for that and look forward to it rather than being caught out by something you weren't expecting. And the other one is just trying to be, as physically strong as you can, in terms of your endurance, particularly. So leg strength, core strength, because as soon as you start struggling to carry a pack because your back's aching or your legs are burning, it's an uphill struggle then, literally. And also a bit of cardio fitness doesn't harm as well, because it's true that, anyone can suffer high altitude sickness. Absolutely true. But it's also true that the more you exert yourself, the more likely you are to experience it. So the way to exert yourself less is to be physically fitter, and also to take your time. So walk slow, get used to walking slow, get used to gradually taking your time to go up big steep climbs. When you're in the UK and you see a big hill, we all have a tendency, I think, to think, right, how quickly can we get up that bad boy? Or you want to rush to get it over and done with.
It can get very competitive, can't it?
Yeah.
It's different when you're out there.
100%. It's a different atmosphere. So the idea when you're trekking is not to how quickly can we get to the top of that hill to get it over with, or who can be first. You're going to spend a long time on the hill, so you may as well just relax, enjoy yourself, have a conversation, stop, take breaks. And also drink plenty of water. Get used to drinking like 4 or 5 liters a day, because you're like a basking shark. Shark?
There was, and it's like there's a couple of times, you know, when there were steep climbs at the Machu Picchu trail for me last year, where we were struggling, and you know, with the altitude, and it was literally a case of picking a point, like a rock, a bush, anything in front of us, and we'd literally be walking for like 45 seconds and stopping for rest.
Yeah.
But like you do it, and like we were all in the same position, in that there wasn't kind of one person firing off. We just did it together, nice and slow. There was no rush.
Yeah.
And you know, it keeps your morale up. You know, just having everyone right. Stop again. 5 seconds. Let's just get a breath back again, and we go again. You know?
Exactly. I mean, you hit a key word there. I think is morale. It's very easy sometimes when you're on a trek, and it's happened to me. Most notably on Ben Nevis, and on one day on the way down from Killy, and it's usually lack of food for me. So it's about, but when I'm enjoying myself, it doesn't matter how hard the day is, and that's true every single trek that I've ever done. If I'm enjoying myself or I'm in a positive frame of mind, I'm always having a great time. And a part of the reason how I get in that frame of mind is 99 times out of 100 food. So I'll eat snacks. Banter is good. As you know, I could be pretty annoying on a trek. You know, like if I see you or John near me, like I'm gonna get like a long bit of plant or something and like stick it in your ear or something.
I'm not kidding. At the training weekend, Dave carried this piece of grass with him for about
hours.
Like, I'm not kidding, for hours, and it was one of those really long pieces of grass, and he'd like just come up and it would like touch like people's ears. But I obviously have no, like, what's it called, like
sensory awareness.
No, obviously not, because he was doing it to me for like ages, and I just wouldn't notice.
Very little payoff.
But everyone else, like, you know, like
very little payoff with you. Very little payoff. Like you practically have to insert the thing in her ear in order to get a reaction. Very disappointing.
But just like I like playing like games and stuff, like as you walk, like anything.
It's one of the things, and I tell you who's really good at this is Andy. Is like sometimes, you know, if say there's 5-6 of you on a trek and all of you are pretty grumpy, and sometimes it takes one person to just kind of, even if they're not feeling it themselves, like try and uplift the mood.
Fake it.
Make it. But what he, I really think he fakes it, which just drives me mad because he's always peppy. But what he can do is like he can kind of like just like switch in his brain and kind of just like find some banter, have some light conversation, and pull people out of it. One time in particular for that one was when I was walking down from Killy, which is after the summit day. Anyone that's ever done Killy, you'll know that one of the hardest parts is actually once you've come down, you stop, you have a little rest, something to eat, and you've got another 4-hour walk to get down again. Well, I hadn't eaten properly in a while. So, you know that like Snickers advert when his mate gets really grumpy? Like that was me.
Not you when you're hungry.
Yeah, I was sat on the wall and Andy's like, "Come on, Dave, we've got to go." And I'm like, "No, I'm not going." And he was like, "Well, you have to." And I was like, "No, we don't." You know, and I was like,
maybe.
I was like, "I'm staying here by the wall." And he was like, and literally he's like, "Have a chocolate bar, Dave." And I was like, "Fine." Ate the chocolate bar. And I was like, "Okay, let's go. I feel better." And honestly, it is one of those things that makes a massive difference.
Definitely.
Let's have a look.
Okay,
go on.
Brisk walk along Hadrian's Wall. Ooh, on my doorstep, lovely scenery, lots of up and down, and didn't see it as training. Yeah, so true, Andrew. Like making the most of your like local surroundings, which I'll kind of just slide in there. Like Fat Maps has been brilliant for finding like new trails around the local area. Who knew that Caerphilly had like such nice 10k walks that kind of go up, you know, up and down.
Amazing, yeah.
Just so nice. Everyone takes the mick, but it's actually lush here. So yeah, I didn't realise there were so many nice walks around.
Oh, it's proper lush, isn't it? You went really Welsh there.
It's really nice. Right, we've missed all these comments now.
I'm going to just go with some of the questions we've had put through because if you try and keep up with the comments, it's
okay. Go ahead.
So Mark McAdam has said, hi, could you tell me please what is included in the price of a trip? Are flights, transfers included? Okay, so to list everything that's included might take a while. So what I highly suggest is that have a look on the website and just spend some time like absorbing all that information.
It's on the trip page, and then scroll right down past all the dates, and it's there for you.
Yeah. As a snapshot, we don't include international flights, but your transfers are included. So not including flights is actually something of a conscious decision. One, it means that our trips are not like crazy expensive at the outset, and you're left to go and find a cheaper flight, which invariably people always can do. Secondly, it enables us to be as flexible as we are with our dates. Something that came into massive benefit for us and you guys during COVID, where if something happened and you needed to change your date, as long as we have a little bit of notice, we're able to kind of be as flexible as we can. Where with flights, everything's a bit more rigid because there's the seat booked on a flight that is leaving, and to try and change that is a lot of hoops to jump through. But transfers, yes, an internal flight if you go into Everest Base Camp, so your local flight is included, and your internal flight in Peru is included to get to Cusco, just not the big long
What I
hauls.
always like to say is, like, once you arrive in country, like more or less, everything's pretty much included. Just like the three main things to think about is, like I said, flights, insurance, and your visa if you need one.
Yeah,
Those
awesome.
are the three main things I think.
Charles Jackson has said, what should your average oxygen levels need to be? Do you need to set target levels? To be honest, Charles, not really, because your oxygen levels are largely dictated by your environment and your physiology. So there's not a huge amount you can do to kind of change them other than take supplemental oxygen to increase it. It is true that the higher you go in altitude, the lower your SATs will be. So when you're on our trips, we put a little SAT monitor on your finger, the oximeter, and that'll check your blood oxygen. Smartwatches can do that as well. And it is an indication of how your body is adjusting to altitude. So the guides will generally have an idea. So for instance, when I was last at Gorekshep, mine was in the 80s. At sea level, it's like 98, 99. So in the 80s, that's totally normal. However, if you had someone who had a very low number at Gorekshep, which is just really high up, 5,100 meters in Nepal, and they had a really low number, that would be a concern, because you'd think, okay, so that person is at high altitude and has a lot less blood oxygen than they should do. And then you use that number in conjunction with some other things like their symptoms. How are they feeling? Do they have a headache? Do they feel sick? Are they able to walk around? Are they eating? A lot of the times you can have a low number and be completely fine and not suffering any altitudes. It's just part of the physiology and quirkiness of travel at altitude. So I would say no, we monitor it, but we don't use it as a target to get to, because it's largely out of your control. So hopefully that kind of gives you a little bit of help. It's a very deep subject, that one, actually. So yeah, I'm going to kind of give you that, and then hopefully that's cool.
Kate asked, hi guys, I do HIIT 3 to 4 times a week. That includes running, cycling, and weights. Moved.
That'll happen.
Is it sufficient for tube cal and EBC, or altitude trainings are still needed? Thanks. It sounds like you're doing quite a lot and you're pretty fit, so I'd say you're good. In terms of weights, one thing I didn't mention early, like single leg kind of exercises are really, really helpful to really build proper muscle. So think about what you're doing in the gym. Can you do like a single leg press and lunges and stuff like that? That's a really, really good way to build strength in your legs. But yeah, sounds like you're doing okay. But remember, like, you've got that free consultation with the London Altitude Centre, and I like answering a lot of these questions about altitude and fitness. They're so helpful. That this is what they do. So just jumping on that call with them, talk about your current level of fitness, what you can do to improve. They supply you as well with a free training guide. And getting down there or hiring a piece of kit to kind of sit and kind of experience being at altitude. Definitely get on a call with them and get signed up to that, because it is really, really helpful. You know, they know what they're talking about.
100%. So Charles has said, do we know anything about snoring at high altitude? And then actually that's followed on by Richard Johnston that says the thing I found most difficult was sleeping at altitude, and breathing deeper happens when you sleep. I found at base camp I woke up in a panic due to struggling to breathe. Yeah. And then Andrew Scott has said, is sleep apnea more likely at altitude? I suffered it twice on EBC near Gorichet, quite frightening. So you kind of all lean in on the same thing. So there is a name for that type of breathing. Oh, I want to say Higgs something, but I can't remember if it is. I'll have to do some research and put it out there. So yes, so when you go to high altitude, sleep apnea, snoring potentially a little bit more, but you know, if you don't, I've been with treks people who've been way up in altitude and they've not snored. Apparently I have, but I've never heard it. But yeah, so sleeping does get a little bit difficult, and it's completely normal. Not everyone has this problem, but sometimes when you're at high altitude, you'll be kind of drifting off, and then you kind of have that like jolt awake, and then and when that happens, you're short of breath for a short period of time, you know. So you feel like, and then what can happen then is, like, as that's happening very quickly, you have like anxiety, and that kind of amplifies it.
For anyone who's had like a panic attack before, like it can be really scary.
Yeah. So this is why I always go back to the knowledge dispelling fear. Knowing that can happen before you get to high altitude means that when it does happen, some of that anxiety that makes it worse isn't there, and you just literally just like you finish a run. That's how I think of it, you know. So when you finish a run and you're out of breath and you're breathing quite hard, you don't panic that you're going to die, and you know it'll go down. It's the same thing when you wake up at altitude. It will go down. You just got to take a minute or two to kind of allow that process to happen. One thing that really does help with it is Diamox. My father, when we went trekking, had the same thing, so he would wake up with that quite regularly. And when you take Diamox, it goes a long way to sort of, if not stopping it, making it a lot less frequent and easier to deal with. So yeah, sleeping at altitude does, you know, can be tricky. One, you know, some people really struggle to sleep at altitude anyway. There's a number of reasons for that. You might have a headache. You might be, you know, kind of like feeling a bit nauseous. Some people, you know, when they're, what the term overtired, you know, when they get so sort of knackered, they go to bed, but then you can't sleep.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be a little bit tricky. I think the best thing to do is, if as you start to gain altitude, you notice that's happening, like you're struggling to sleep or you're having those moments where you wake up breathless, consider switching to Diamox. And if you're already on Diamox, you know, talk to your guide about it, because there's often a lot of things that they can do. You know, how much have you been drinking? How fast were you walking the next day? How much have you been eating? There's so many different things that might play into it, and we can certainly make it manageable. But with regards to the panic, Richard, I reckon, knowing it can happen before helped me a lot, because I researched it, knew it could happen. I'm very lucky in a lot of ways with altitude. It doesn't happen a lot to me, but sometimes it does. Me, I notice is like if I roll over in bed or miss a breath as you do it, you know, it's ridiculous.
When like I've had a panic attack in the past before, a lot of these smartwatches, they can do like steady breathing with you. So and my Garmin does it, and I believe like Apple Watches can do it as well, but they obviously monitor your heart rate, and they can do a count with you, so you can kind of time it, so you go like breathe in for 10 seconds, breathe out for like 10 seconds. It can be helpful to have that guide with you as well, just to calm you down, because it can be really like scary, especially kind of waking up and you're like, oh, I'm in a new place, like I've not kind of experienced this before. So yeah, like definitely see, like if you do kind of wear a smartwatch with you or have anything like that, just to think about just tapping that on and just like helping you get your breath back a bit and calm yourself down a little bit.
I mean, I know a lot of people, and I've had a lot of advice from guides that talk about sleeping at altitude, because it can be a little bit tricky. And my first guide, when I ever went there, told me that when you arrive at a place, so you've trekked all day and you've arrived at Le Boucher, some people are really tired and they want to have a nap. My guide would always say, don't. You need to be awake. You've just arrived at this altitude, stay awake, largely because it gives your body more time to adjust to that altitude in like its normal woken state. When you go to sleep, naturally your heart rate slows, your breathing slows, and you're not necessarily acclimatizing as well to the low altitude. If you just get in, oh god, I'm tired, go to sleep immediately.
That makes so much sense, yeah.
And I think there's a lot of truth in it, because a lot of people will wake up with like a headache, and that's largely because I think they of that like sleeping and lower oxygen. Again, it's nothing to be terribly afraid of. It's good to recognize that it's happening and let your guide know, but also I can't stress enough, like normally like paracetamol, get rid of the headache. Diamox can really help with the sleeping, and then also like with your guide, check your oxygen levels, and then look at food, nutrition, water, speed of hiking, what you did the previous day. I've seen lots of people struggle to have a bad night's sleep. Talk to the guide in the morning, and the guy's like, okay, hang at the back with me today. And part of the reason is so they know that you're going slower, and you just take your time. So yeah, really important.
I saw one come in here, just a change of topic. About visa. I can't find it now. It said something along the lines of, how far in advance do I need to apply for my visa? Do I need to do that? I'm sorry, I can't find the.
That's okay. I will find it.
Anyway, if it's for Nepal, then yeah, I definitely always advise to get it beforehand. To me, it's just peace of mind. You go in, you don't need to then stand in potentially a long queue to get it at the airport. So it's just like it's done, and you can just get straight on to to your hotel. Super easy. There's a guide on the website, step by step, how to apply for it. Typically, so what you do is basically you go online, you fill out the form, then you get given a code, and you can either print off like your confirmation that you filled it out, or just pop a note into the envelope saying with your code. Put your passport in like a prepaid like envelope so they can send it back to you. Again, all of this information is like in depth, step by step on the talk through. But yeah, you send it off on the Monday and get it back by the Friday, don't you? Like it's really quick. And I've spoken before to the people in like the, what's it called, like the Nepalese embassy in London, and they're so helpful. So like when I was writing the guide, I've obviously haven't done Everest Base Camp yet, so I was just kind of going off what Dave said, and I ended up actually just giving them a call, and they were so helpful. And really so just if in doubt, give them a call, and they're really, really helpful.
I think a lot of people who I've spoken to didn't realize that you can just call an embassy, but that's their whole purpose, is to help people traveling around countries and support people.
So helpful.
It's one is to support people who are going to travel, and one to support their own citizens. But yeah, you can pick up the call and call any embassy. You can pick up the call, and then you can dial the number. Anyway, so one more question, and then we'll dive on to one other thing that might actually help people with preparation. So Chris has said thoughts on aspirin for altitude headache prevention. So I think, aspirin's really good. I think there's a lot of people that also can't take paracetamol or ibuprofen. So aspirin's really good. There is some talk that I know a lot of high altitude mountaineers who are going to be at altitude for a long time take aspirin because it helps thin the blood, which helps oxygen move around the body. When you do like a 2-week trip, your blood doesn't really start to get any thicker. That process normally takes about a month. But certainly, it's great. Take some with you.
Oh my God, right, just before we move on, is it Bright Bra? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Train hard, trek easy. I did a 44-mile ultra marathon 2 weeks before Kilimanjaro.
Mm.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's not mad. That's train too hard. And he treks real easy. But no, he's absolutely right. Train hard, trek easy is great. So yeah, that's it. Just if you're going to do Kili, make sure you can run 44 miles beforehand.
That's mad. Well done.
Yeah, that's amazing. So one of the other things that we can offer that does help people get prepared for their trip, which is kind of like a Tuesday tune-in but spread over sort of 2 days.
Oh, I love working the training weekends.
Is the training weekends? Yeah. You stole my thunder. Leading up to it.
So Brecon training weekend, guys.
Yeah, tell us all about it, Rosie. Why not? Yeah, so we do have a Brecon training weekend.
Yeah, one in August and one in October.
Yeah.
We'll be at both.
Yeah, so if you're in the October one,
it's my birthday weekend, so
bring your raincoat.
It was lovely weather last year, wasn't it?
In October.
I didn't work the one.
No, it was really wet.
Was it?
We had 40 degrees in the summer one.
Yeah, it was so hot in the summer one. It was lush.
Unbelievable.
Bit too hot when you were out at the mountains. There was no shade.
I got sunburnt. Yeah, but anyway, they're awesome. It's a good opportunity. Like the Brecon training weekends are really they're about trip preparation. So although we're going out hiking and we have Steve, who heads up our mountain team, looking after everyone and making sure they stay safe on the hill, the big part of it is also having an opportunity to like talk with us, and we can talk through what trip you're on, what prep you're on. We do deep dives into things like equipment, acclimatization, medication, all of the stuff that we've discussed today to get you trip ready.
Yeah,
we discuss on a one-to-one basis over like a number of days, sometimes fueled by a beer. Yeah, it's really nice.
It's a great weekend. Yeah, we go out to a local restaurant for some Nepalese food. It's just really nice to people make friends, and people who go with others that are like on the same trip date as each other, and it's just it's really good. And like Dave said, literally just speak to the team whenever you need to. We do you do, I don't do kit chat. So just going through packing, just really helpful hints and tips. And it's just a really nice atmosphere all weekend, just getting to know people. Most people kind of come on their own, don't they?
Like probably most people are just
don't know anyone, just turn up and we make a group chat. And everyone just kind of stays in touch, and it's just really nice, isn't it?
Yeah, no, really good. We've done so many now, but the last few we've taken it a step up. We have more people on them.
We get pizza on the Friday.
We get pizza on the Friday. Yeah, that's really important.
This is good food and drink weekend.
Yeah, plenty of teas, coffees. Maybe some Moretti. But no, it's really good. And we also have Steve, who does our winter skills training, comes down with a few of his guys as well. And while we're doing the kit chat and stuff like that, he might do another little bit about mountain safety. Sometimes he'll talk about harnesses and clipping in. So it's not like an in-depth conversation, but he does show you a little bit about what you'd be doing on things like Island, Mara Peak, that type of thing. Honestly, there's value. There's value anywhere you look. Also, the Great Bald Yetis, John comes along. So if you do find a big piece of long grass, he's got a bald head. It's really nice to kind of annoy him with. He loves that.
Yeah, they're really fun weekends. So Darren's coming along in October. Fun. Yeah, we'll see you there.
Awesome. Dazza, look forward to Dazza being there. Brian's done one as well. Highlight from Brian's one, I think him and John ran the last 5k of along that Roman road, the rocky one. Yeah, they ran along that, and then I think when he got back, Bry stripped down to his boxes and took a picture in front of Andy's truck. It's a good system. Yeah.
Boys.
But awesome. So I think that's about it, guys. I think we've pretty much covered anything. I think actually we've got to cut a minute. So go on.
We'll do Chris Collins. How often did you take Diamox? What is it? Reduced dose? This will be all information on the kind of packaging and stuff, so definitely do your own research. I started off by just taking half a tablet and just seeing how you get on. And then I think I might have upped it to one morning and night. I took it. But all the information will kind of be on the pack, and just take a little and see how you get on.
Mark Drummond said, if you do base camp and Le Boucher East, would you do Le Boucher East on the way back? Yes, because one great thing about going there is it's all on the same route to Everest Base Camp. But when you go to Everest Base Camp, you get a 5364, go up to Kalapatar, 5,550. So then when you go above 6,000 meters, you're already acclimatized. So yeah, that's the way we do it.
The Trek duffel bags, are they waterproof? They are water resistant.
But they also have covers as well.
Yeah. but always handy just to have a couple of drive bags.
Yeah.
Won't hurt.
Awesome. So guys, thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully that's been helpful, and there's a couple of golden nuggets you can glean in there with your trip prep. As always, if you have any specific questions you want to ask us, just email us, or even better.
The training weekend is now still on an early bird. We forgot. Early bird pricing.
Yeah.
Which is due to end in a week or so, I think. So like get booked on now, guys. We're really looking forward to seeing you there.
Awesome. Take it easy, guys. Take care.
Bye. 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 Bye.
It's still